You guys remember that? Okay. I'm going to follow up on that. This is more of kind of an in-depth to stomping roaches and rinsing your cottage cheese. But one of the things I want you guys to do right now, I'm going to give you a minute, but on your piece of paper, you got right here, it says, what did you do on Monday, August 29th? I'll give you a minute to write down. It was 2 days ago. It's only 2 days ago, so you should remember what you did 2 days ago. But I want you to write down what you did. Now, this is something, don't share this with everybody, but I want you to write down, what did you do? You don't have to put 10 things, but I left 10 spaces. And how much time did it take? So I'll give you guys a minute to think about that. Think about, and I'll do it also, but what did you do on Monday? List the things you did on Monday, and how much time did it take you to do those items? And I'll do it also. Anyone have the Jeopardy theme music they can play? I don't have that. Alright, so it seems like we're getting close to the end of a minute. Alright, so. Okay, so it is the end of a minute. Thank you, Robin, for keeping track of that. Okay, so I'm going to throw it out. I'm not going to ask you to share anything, but I'm going to ask you, was that difficult? To write down things you did 2 days ago?
At my age, absolutely.
I was going to say, Ward wrote down, I'm alive. That's right. That's all that Ward wrote on his thing.
Couldn't remember.
He couldn't remember 2 days ago. So, let me write, and time frame, was it, when you had to think about what time it took to do those things, was that also difficult? If you sat there and said, I ate, okay, well, how long did it take you to eat? I mean, I put down 15 minutes. Family time in the morning, we always, before the kids go to school, we always have scripture and prayer. That's typically about 20 minutes. Drive the kids to the bus. That's another 15 minutes. Email response at 20 minutes. Lunch, 40 minutes. My manager meeting, that was 3 hours. It was wonderful. Jamie, if you're watching, it's great. Wonderful manager meeting. And so as you go through your day, kind of looking at what it is. So let's chat about our quadrants. Sorry, I'm trying to do this. Okay, so want to get an idea of some of the quadrants you guys are in. I mentioned this, like I said, months ago during that train. I talked about the quadrants. So I want to kind of dive down a little bit deeper into this. This is in your guys' notes, and it says pretty much what quadrant is. So we're going to talk about the 4 different quadrants, and we're going to talk about how they impact your daily life and what you do in those quadrants. Okay, so number 1 quadrant is urgent and important. Okay, these are crises. These are things that have to be taken care of. This is something where you have an irate client, or you have a deadline that you have to meet, or you have heart surgery, or there is equipment that broke down, or there's a crying child, that if you don't take care of the items in urgent and important, you get buried alive. And a lot of these things happen because of procrastination. But these are things that are deadline driven. These are things that you're behind the 8 ball, you can't get stuff done. And this is where a lot of stress happens. It's urgent and important, and it has to happen, and everything else in your life stops to make sure those things happen. Okay, one of the things that's urgent and important, personal experience, forgetting a child at school. You need to stop what you're doing and go pick that kid up. Just throwing that out there. Even if you have your clients in the car with you, go pick the kid up. All right, next one, next quadrant, quadrant 2. Not urgent and important. This is a preparatory quadrant. This is the quadrant where you prepare. If you have a meeting deadline coming up in quadrant 1, this is when you prepare for that meeting. Also, the second one on there, if you can't read it, says prevention. If you're having a heart attack, if you do things in this quadrant 1, that prevents things that happen in quadrant 2. Planning, this is relationship building. This is date night with your spouse, your significant other, or going out on dates with your children. This is the time that you sit there. It's not urgent, but it's important. It's not something that's life-threatening, but it's important. But throwing it out there, what typically happens in this quadrant? It's not on fire. What typically happens in this quadrant right here? The things that you know you should be doing, but you don't. What happens?
They don't get done.
Say that louder, Patty. What was that?
I said it gets pushed back.
It gets pushed back. I have to do these things. These things I don't have to do, but I should do. Yeah, George. Procrastination. So then saying, well, you know what? This isn't due. This project, or getting this CMA or this listing present out. I don't have that listing presentation until tomorrow. So you know what? I'll do it at 8:30 in the morning when I have plenty of time and nothing else is happening. What happens 9 times out of 10 at 8:30 in the morning when you're supposed to be doing this?
Something happens.
Your water heater blows up. Your car breaks down. You have a heart attack. I'm sorry, that's probably not that. But you slide into second base and break your ankle. Brandon's not here.
Third base.
Third base. Sorry, it's third base. So the thing is this is what happens. Is you sit here and you look at this and you go like, well, it's I know it's important, but I don't have to do it right now, and I have this other pile I have to take care of. So what happens to things that you don't do in quadrant 2? They get pushed into quadrant 1 when it's on fire and you have to take care of it. Okay. So quadrant 3. Now I'll say that quadrant 2. When we talked about Dave Scott, he was the Ironman individual that ran one of those 5 Ironmans, the Hawaiian Ironman. This was where he lived all day long. He knew that it was important, but it wasn't urgent. But he had it set up. This is where the system comes in place. These are where things happen. Now let's talk about quadrant 3. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. This is, wrote this down, this is the quadrant of deception. You think that these things are important, but they're not. Interrupting things, you got some phone calls. You were sitting there doing this, let's go back to the CMA example. You're doing the CMA, and all of a sudden, your best friend calls up and you say, oh, let me pick up the phone and talk to them because it's urgent. They're calling right now, it just must be for something urgent. So you stop what you're doing that is important, and now all of a sudden you're on the phone with them, and it's nothing, or you sit there and chat because it's easier to do that. You return some mail, some reports, pressing matters, popular activities. These are things that you do that are not important, but in our mind, we trick ourselves into thinking that they're urgent. These are, when we talked about that the cottage cheese and the roaches, these are the roaches that enter our lives on a daily basis. We are laser focused on getting something done, and then all of a sudden something crawls out, and we have to take care of that. It's not an important thing, but we have to take care of it. This is what one of the things when I talk with a lot of individuals that work out of their home, they get sucked into this. They're sitting there at their beautiful home office, looking out in their yard, and what do they see? A weed. If I don't take care of that weed and go pull that weed right now, what's going to happen? It's going to overtake my yard, and it's going to kill my daffodils or petunias. I don't know what you guys have in your yards. You have something beautiful. And you sit there and think, I've got to pull that out. And as you're heading out from the garage, you see that stack of laundry. And you're like, I've got to do that laundry. If I don't do that laundry, I'm going to get buried in it. Think to yourself as you're, throughout your day, are these things I'm doing, are they urgent? Are they not urgent? Or are they, but they're not important? And this is something that if I planned and had a system in place, and I'm sitting there going, that weed will not overtake your yard. But if you ignore it, then all of a sudden you look out in your yard and you've got nothing but weeds. Yes. I'm not saying that these things are not something that you need to pay attention to. They're just something you don't need to pay attention to right now. They are urgent. They're things that need to happen, but they're not important right there. And then we have quadrant 4. Not urgent and not important. This is the quadrant of waste. Most of the time we shouldn't be. This is trivial, busy work, junk mail, some phone calls, time wasters, Facebook, Tetris Blitz. That's my quadrant 4. It's an escape thing, because what happens, you are on fire throughout the day, putting out these fires. You're running around trying to get things done that are urgent but not important. And what happens? You burn out. So you spend so much time in quadrant 4 trying to recoup, trying to get your life back on track. So you spend a lot of time in quadrant 4 trying to handle those issues. Okay? So each one of these quadrants, if you think about your life, each one of us have been in these quadrants at some time. Now, please don't shut it on, but just think to yourself, what quadrant do you spend most of your time in? So, please don't shut it. Okay, so next one. Gonna work? There it goes. Okay, so those things you wrote down from Monday, now that you know the quadrants, I'll bring the quadrants back up in a second. Now that you know those quadrants, those things you wrote down, I wrote down 10, but those things you wrote down for that minute, I want you to put next to those things what quadrant they're in. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the quadrants, but think about those things that you did on Monday, and right next to them, where's my sheets? I want you to put a Q1, a Q2, a Q3, a Q4. So I want you to go through your list of items and write down what quadrant it is. So I'll give you guys a minute to do that. So take out that sheet that you did and write down quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. And be honest with yourself. No one's going to see these things. I'm not going to see them. No one else is going to see them. But just be honest with yourself. Where do you spend the majority of your time? Quadrant 1, 2, 3, or the dreaded quadrant 4? All right, so I'll give you guys a minute.
Are you golfing?
No, actually, lead follow-up, so
No, that's good. That's 2.
it's 1 or 2. Lead follow-up's 1. I think.
Okay, so gonna wrap. Okay, so you guys can keep doing that a little bit later, but yeah. So we're gonna go next one. Next one. Okay, so let's chat about on your guys'. I gave you guys these quadrants. They're blank. I want you to write these notes in there. What quadrant are you in? It's a little bit tough to read. The print's a little bit small, but it says the bold type represents high performance people. How much time or percentage of the time they spend in these quadrants. The normal type represents typical people. Okay, so in quadrant 1, urgent and important, standard people spend about 25-30% in that quadrant. High performing people spend about 20 to 25%. You got to put out those fires. You got to do those things. And sometimes it's out of our control, but it has to happen. You've got to do those things. So you've got to put those out or else you will get buried. Okay, so high performing people, 20-25%. All right, not urgent but important. Standard person, 15% of their time in there. 65 to 80% of a high-performing person is. Sorry, my phone's going off. I should probably turn that down. That was Tom Hanks's laugh from the Money Pits, if you're wondering. So, not urgent, important. 15% of standard people spend their time there. 65 to 80% of high-performance people, that's where they live. That's where they spend their time. I'm going to throw out there, number 1, why? Why do they spend the majority of their time there in that quadrant? I hear whispering. Planning, preparation. What else? What was that? They get things done, exactly. They get things done so that it doesn't have to bleed over into the next one. What was that? Did you say something? They prevent the crises. They sit there on a system in place to prevent these crises. Now, we all know that urgent, important, there's things that are going to happen. You can work out every day, eat right, and still have health concerns. You can do everything right and still have issues in different relationships. You can do everything right in your business, but we all know that there's schmucks on the other side that screw stuff up. So no matter what we do, we are going to have to be dealing with, urgent and important things. But too many of us spend only 15% of our time in that important but not urgent section because we're putting out fires in quadrant 3. Standard individuals spend 50 to 60% of their time in quadrant 3, stomping roaches. 50 to 60% of their time chasing down things that they have no control over, but that since they procrastinated, feel like those things are important when in reality they're not. 15% for a high performance individual spends 15% of their time because they can recognize the difference between an urgent and important and an urgent and not important. This is, like I said, the quadrant of deception. This will deceive you into thinking that this is important. It is important to go pull that weed out in the front yard because if you don't, your life will be ruined. And that's us telling ourselves that. That's us realizing that, well, I need to do these things because if I don't, then my neighbors will talk about me and all this stuff. So this is the quadrant of deception. Don't get sucked into that because you can see there's a lot of individuals that fall in that quadrant. And the last quadrant, like I said, the quadrant of waste, but it's a safety net. We have to, I call it the quadrant of waste, but it's also, you have to have this. You have to have this time when you're not dealing with important, these are times when you're able to relax and able to take a break and able to sit there and say, you know what, I don't have anything super important to do right now, and it's not urgent, but I want to relax. But also relaxation also comes from not urgent and important. Sometimes taking a break, going on a vacation, that's in quadrant 2. That helps solidify or build yourself up for all the battles you have to go through on a daily basis. Okay, so looking at what you did, like I said, on that Monday, what did you do on Monday? Writing down those notes, that's just, like I said, just for you. But think about it. Where are you spending the majority of your time? And I'll shoot this off to you guys, these numbers and these definitions and everything. But I'll shoot them off to you, but just think about that. Where are you spending a majority of your time? Okay? Now, going into, we talked about kind of on a life basis, there's a lot of things, but I want to kind of throw it out to you guys and ask you some questions about each one of these quadrants. First of all, in real estate, what is something that is urgent and important that you have to take care of? What's something in your daily life that's urgent and important? George?
You got an offer that came in.
You got an offer that came in. Okay? A listing. You got a listing that came in.
Time frames.
Time frames. You've got 17 days and you're on day 15 and whoops, we have to do appraisal still? Counter offers. Okay? Because there's time frames attached to those. Those are urgent and important. These are things that have to be taken care of. Because the thing is, we can't plan on when those offers are coming in. Because how many times has somebody said, my clients love your property, they love your house, expect an offer tomorrow, and you're sitting there by your phone or your computer waiting for that offer to come in. Because it's urgent and important because you know you're going to get an offer. So what are you doing? This is urgent but not important. You're sitting there waiting for this offer to come in. Because they told you, agents don't lie to each other. Okay, so things that come up in real estate that you need to take care of that you don't maybe have planned in your life, well, plan some time, 20 to 25% of your time to do that. Do not have your days so packed full of items that you don't have time to respond. Okay, next thing, let's talk about quadrant 2. What are some things real estate related that are important but not urgent? Real estate related. What are you doing? Dory? Farming. What? That what you were saying? Wait, no, I'm sorry. All right, what else? Training. Great. Prospecting, training, what else? Give me one more. Website. Okay? That's the thing, is that what happens is if these things aren't taken care of, if you're realizing, because what happens is we talk about this in real estate as a roller coaster. You're working, you're prospecting, you got all these deals in escrow and they close, and then all of a sudden what happens? You got to start going, prospecting, going. Oh, you got good things, got clients, closing escrows, and so if you look at your production, having that because you're spending so much time, and you're not spending enough time in here, and you're dealing with things that are urgent but not important. If you have time frames set up, know what those time frames are, and don't get buried behind them. But what happens is, George, with the website idea, if you don't do your website, and you keep putting it off, then it becomes an urgent and important issue, and everything else falls in the background. So let's talk about where a majority of people live. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. What are some things real estate related that are urgent but not important? Patty.
Training, make emails,
Emails, responding to every single email. Okay. Urgent but not important. What else? Eating.
Real estate related.
That's all we do. Once again, back to snacks. Yes, we do a lot of eating. Yes. Yeah, I guess overeating or yeah. I mean, yeah. It's. I think that would be an important but not urgent. I mean, if you know, I get hungry. If you're on the ground, passed out because of hunger, I'll give you a snack. All right. What else? One more for that urgent but not important. What did you say? Gossip. Oh. Gossip. That's why we got rid of the water cooler, because you had to hang around there too much. No, but yeah, you're sitting there going like, well, I have to know what's happening in so-and-so's life, because if I don't know and I'm the only one, then everyone's going to talk about me, that I don't know. Thank you. Yes. Spend so much time worrying about other people because we believe that it's important, or it's urgent, but it's not important. Not important. People are talking. Who gives a crap? I mean, who cares? Who cares? Next one. Not urgent and not important. What do you do in real estate that's not urgent and not important? This is your waste. This is your break. This is your putting your feet up and saying, okay. What? Urgent but not important. Gossip. No, we're not. No. Urgent but not important in real estate. What was that? Not urgent and not important in real estate. Not urgent and not important. George.
Setting your fantasy football lineup too early in the week.
Setting your fantasy football lineup too early in the week.
Yeah,
That is not urgent and nor important. Thank you, George. Yeah.
Sometimes just looking around at what's for sale in Ottawa County.
Yeah, looking around, spending time looking around at, going on Sandy Court. And I've done this sometimes, like, oh, this house looks great. Let me look at it. Let me look at all these pictures. Look at the description. Oh, that's great. Oh, there's a virtual tour. Let me watch that. And then all of a sudden, 45 minutes have passed, and I'm like, what was I doing? What was I supposed to be doing on Sandy Court? What else? One more. Not urgent, not important. Hanging out. Facebook. Oh, Facebook is so much. You can use Facebook for business. Oh, shut up. You're not using it for business. Sorry. Anyways. But yes, Facebook is important. But great. But that's where people get sucked into. All of a sudden, those cat videos, that's why the internet was invented. Was for cute cat videos and pictures of my children. They are adorable. But that's the thing. But you sit there and you feel like, I need a break. I need to get away from all this other stuff that's happening because, and it's not my fault, but I need a break right here. And so you spend time in there taking these breaks throughout the day because you need to take a break from things that you procrastinated or put off. Okay? All right. So, the next one. So what I want you to do is on your list. Okay. Make a list of everything in your life that you'd like to get rid of. Personal and business. Whoa, hold up. Hold up.
Kids.
Do not put your spouse or children on there, Brett.
Yeah.
I didn't say spouse, I said my kid.
Your kids, sorry. Okay. So, personal and business. Let's talk about things that you would like to get rid of. Looking at what you do on a daily basis, things you would like to get rid of. If you don't like doing the contract, okay, write that down. Maybe that's something that you need to work on, or maybe you need to team up with somebody who loves contracts. If you don't like doing the paperwork, or you're not good at it, great. Talk with the TC. If you don't like prospecting, okay, find someone you can team up with to work on that, or pay someone to do that. Personal. If you don't like your spouse,
Therapy. Therapy.
Make it better.
Therapy.
well, that's the thing. Don't say,
Yeah, my boss
Kevin
said-
told me, work on it. Quadrant 2, relationship building. If there's things with your life that you're not happy, write down what things like this. You know, I'm thinking about things that have bugged me and things that are issues. Write them down, and write down next to them, are they important and urgent, or are they just fluff? And how much time do we spend aggravating over these things that we'd like to get rid of, realizing that if we would have done something a little bit different, then we would have probably had a better scenario on that. On this note, my 2 kids are auditioning for the middle school play. They're doing Seussical, the musical, at Bernardo Heights Middle School. So Brooklyn and Nate are both preparing and singing and doing wonderful things you're supposed to do. Nate, this is his first time. He's 11 going in, and I told him, I said, just have fun, do the best you can, don't worry about anything. And he's like, and the thing is, he told me these are two words that I hate the most in the English language when they're together. He said, what if, blah, blah, blah. What if? We spend so much time in that realm of what if I would have done this? What if this happens? What if? And we project that onto what we do on a daily basis. What if you look back and people sit there and say, what if I would have found a geographic farm 4 years ago and worked it like I knew it? What would my life look like? And you spend so much time wondering about the what ifs. You don't think about, what's that quote from The Music Man? He's talking with a librarian and he says something that when you always worry about tomorrow, when you always put off tomorrow, what the crap, you guys know what I'm talking about. When you're always putting off tomorrow, what you could do.
Don't put off tomorrow what
Somebody
you can do
Google
today.
Music Man and the quote, something about tomorrow. He's talking to a librarian. Please Google that.
Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today.
No.
No.
That's not it. You'll find you're left with nothing but a lot of empty yesterdays.
Okay, quick. Say it again.
Says, you pile up enough tomorrows and you'll find you're left with nothing but a lot of empty yesterdays.
Great. Music Man, great quote. I didn't remember it, but I knew it was important. And Gwen, send that to me. Well, send that to me. That'll work. We'll send it off. So, the thing is, there are things in our life that we put off and put off and put off and put off. You can make a change today. You just got to sit there and say, where am I spending my time at? And that's one of the most important things about being a business owner, which each one of you is. I don't know which one it is. You each own a business. Look at where you're spending your time. Look at what you're doing. If you sit and say, well, I don't have the funds to do all these things, there is a plethora of things you can do cheaply, inexpensively to get your name out there. You say, well, I'm too busy to prospect. I've got all these escrows going on. What's going to happen in 45 days? You're going to have plenty of time to do stuff because you're going to have 0 escrows. So look at this list and think about this. Put this as part of your planning. One of the things is, Stephanie and I have talked about this. We are going to meet with you guys, each one of you, one-on-one, either you're going to be with me or with Stephanie, and we're going to, start in October, go over your business plan for 2017. Why are we going to talk about your business plan for 2017 in October 2016?
To plan.
Give you extra time to get ready.
What was that, Brett?
To get ready for it.
It's time to get ready. If you start your business plan on January 1st, 2017, when is your first deal going to close from that business plan? April or March or April of 2017. First quarter's gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to trick 2017 and actually start planning earlier so that when January and February come, you can sit there and pay the dues, pay for Christmas. Wouldn't that be great? Because you actually, so we're going to start doing that. And one of the things that Stephanie and I are going to talk about when we talk to you about your business plan is about these quadrants. You're going to have a business plan. Where are you spending most of your time? What are you doing? And just be honest with us because we want to help you be as productive as possible. So we'll within the next couple weeks, we'll kind of set it up with you guys. But starting in October, we're going to meet with each one of you one-on-one and go over that and talk about where you want to be and what you want to do. Okay. So next one we are talking about is Caravan. All right, so let's get started on Caravan. So